Welcome to Carter's Retro Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo, mostly because I am super hungover. So if anyone wants me, I'm going to be in the crashed out position back on the couch behind me, playing this game, and we'll come to terms with what really led me to this point. I'll also probably swear that I'll never do it again. I will be looking forward to the KFC run we'll be doing later on, so I'll be on that. I also asked my wife to get me some iced donuts while she's out, so really looking forward to that, and I'll just be sipping water all day. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm back! Super Punch-Out is a boxing game developed and published by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo in the US, Japan, and PAL regions, as opposed to the arcade game of the same name from 1984 in Japan only. What's interesting is the US received their version in 1994, but Japan didn't see their release until 1998. When this game was released, it got rave reviews, and so it should have. This game does so many things well, and it's quite relentless in its pursuit in keeping us entertained. And there's so much more than meets the eye, so let's take a trip down memory lane. Unless you're Gabby J, the first boxer in this game who constantly gets the crap beaten out of him. In which case, we'll take a trip down whatever's left of memory lane. Presentation is a surprise, and really, something super impressive. The menu presentations were really good, and in-game presentation is super tight with very nice visuals, and everything is laid out, well, pretty perfectly. We're given bright colours, and the way it interweaves with the gameplay is masterful, and we're given no superfluous information. Every opponent has a theme, and when that ring matches the theme, it really adds to the gameplay in a positive way. Graphics are excellent, even for a 16-bit game. No tearing, great detailing, and it's how it all comes together that makes this truly great. On one hand, you have the background, which is not exactly a static image, but it's very limited on how much action we have back there. The crowd stays more or less the same. But this is good, because it lets us focus on the gameplay while creating atmosphere. The shading is good, and each theme of our opponents reflected in the ring always looks sharp, still adding to that atmosphere. But it's the actual foreground where the barrage of attacks and moving both opponent and player is where the magic really shines. Giving the player transparency on this angle really locks in how it plays, and we'll get to that. But having transparency in the first place was a great move and ingenious. The music is pretty good, I like it, but what really stands out is the sound effects. It gives us not only cues on how to approach an attack, but what is likely to be attacking us. And it's very satisfying to hear those king hits we lay on the opponent. I don't want to undersell any part of the soundtrack as it fits in thematically, but it's more important than that. But the fact is, if the soundtrack was worse than what we got, it would stick out like dog's balls, and we could have tainted what is an otherwise excellent game. You know, spoilers. The gameplay mechanics are deeper than I thought. The original Punch-Out has star attacks, whereas Super Punch-Out has the super meter, and provided you don't get hit, you can continue with your super punches. I've spent my life playing this game, never really being able to finish it, but it turns out I've been playing it all wrong. I was trying to survive and time my attacks, but it has more detail than that. I know this is cheating, but instead of pretending this is my own information, here's an excerpt from a speed run done on the game that explains the part of the mechanics better than I ever could.
A lot of times you'll see Zallard either whiffing punches or doing dodges or ducks when there's not really anything going on. What he's doing is executing buffer strats. Basically how Punch-Out inputs work is you can achieve an input on the first frame of recovery by just holding a button. So if Zallard wants to dodge and then immediately throw an uppercut, all he has to do is input the dodge and then hold the button for uppercut, and it'll come out on the first possible frame. So there's a combination of those inputs that he's going to use as buffers to get perfect timing on a lot of the dizzy windows. So you see he missed the dizzy chance on Piston Hurricane, so unfortunately he doesn't get the quick knockdown here. And then the other major important mechanic in SPO, it's also in the other Punch-Out games, is guard manipulation. So at the start of every fight or after a knockdown, or what have you, the opponent will put their guard based on where Little Mac's guard is. So if you're holding up and doing jabs, they'll put their guard up. And if you have your guard at neutral or low, they'll put their guard down. So ideally, you do that for one frame, and then you can actually start hitting them in the opposite direction to start dizzying them.
Just know that the game handles well, and it, above all else, is fun. The amount of content is actually quite lacking. It's only a 1 player and 16 enemies to face, but the replayability is still pretty good. What will keep you coming back is mastering the art of beating the game. Would I recommend this game? I actually feel by this point, if it's not already obvious, you haven't been paying attention. It would also make for a very confusing recommendation if I said no after everything I said. It's not only one of the best boxing games of all time, it's one of the best Super Nintendo games of all time. And maybe not necessarily the best, but it's certainly up there.